How do estate agents go from 1% to 1.25? Talk to me.
Well, that's the secret sauce, isn't it, ultimately?
Oh, yeah.
And there are many, many things to consider doing that. The first starting point is to look at how much is it financially. How much is the difference? Quite often, it's relatively small, and obviously in certain parts of the country it will vary, but let's take, for example, £500. The first thing, if you want to get your fees up, the first thing is understand what do you want to get them to, and how much is it, and start from that point. Then understand how much difference that will probably make to the business if from this point forward you commit to that. The second thing about fees, and we'll work on a £500 example. The second thing is then to ask yourself, how good a negotiator are you? How are you able to negotiate £500 more than all the other agents in your town? And when I say negotiate £500 more, it applies to two different types of negotiation.
Go on.
So first of all, it starts off with negotiation for yourself. Are you a decent negotiator? Or if you're out listing, you should be. But the second thing is, can you negotiate?
Most agents pull their pants down, don't they?
Well,
I mean, I had a story. I had Boyd the other week. Who basically someone he was doing a mystery shop, and he was actually at the property.
Yeah.
And the guy who was paying him says, under no circumstances can you jump in at any time. And the woman says, I'm going to give you the business. I just need to check with my husband. You've sold everything in the house. What do you charge? And he says 1.4, but I'll do it for 1.
Yeah. Right. We hear it all the time when we're mystery
we're between 1 and 1.25. Oh, you're 1 then, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what people do, which is just crazy.
Give me some top tips to what people out
Top tips. First of all, like I just said, can you negotiate £500 for the vendor from the buyer at the point that the sale is made? Yes. Second top tip is if you pitch your fee at whatever it is, let's say it's 1.25, and the owner says to you, I've got cheaper than that, I want to pay it for 1. The first and most important rule is to say, would you use me at 1%? Yes, I would. Okay, well, I'm not 1%, I'm 1.25. That is £500. Do you understand, Mr. Seller, how much £500 is for your buyer? Because I'm going to negotiate that for you. Plug it into Rightmove's mortgage calculator or any mortgage calculator. £500 on a 25-year mortgage, £3, £4, something like that.
Less than
that. It'd be less than that. Do the maths and find it out. Vendors don't know how much that is, so if you tell them and show them, they are quite surprised. And then it's your ability to negotiate for the owner at the point the offer comes in. Every agent I've ever met, I've ever worked with, I believe has that ability. When the sale comes in and the offer is there and the buyer says that's my final offer, another £500 in the house is yours.
Yeah. It's all about negotiating techniques. Do you think we train enough our negs in how to do this enough?
Probably not, no. Thankfully, 'cause that's why we're in business.
What other tips have you got?
Well, essentially, the reality of the situation is, we talk about this a lot. The fee and getting an increased fee starts at the first point of contact. Okay, this is not when a lister gets to the house. This is when, not even to be frank, before they get on the phone, they're judging you. They are automatically thinking, does that person look like an expensive estate agent? And then that's not going to put them off. People aren't going to go, oh, they've got really, really fantastic photography, I won't ring them. So you're looking for positioning yourself as the I suppose, reassuringly expensive, to use the, I think, is that Stella?
Yeah, Stella Artois. Yeah.
But obviously positioning yourself as that from your online presence, and then right through from that initial, the minute the phone rings or the lead comes in, are you the first person to respond? How are you responding? Are you the knowledgeable and the most...
This is quite basic, Sarah.
It is basic.
Completely basic, but it is not
and
happening.
creating the wow moment, we always say.
It's not happening.
Wow.
Why isn't it happening? Laziness?
Apathy, I think, a little bit.
Or just order takers, like that video we did, Rightmove receptionist.
Yeah. There's an element of that, and probably also the misconception, if I may, that the agency community, in not all of them, but by large, expects there's going to be a battle on fees when there doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. We don't negotiate, Mr. Seller, on our fees because we don't negotiate the price of your house. You may choose to, but we certainly won't. Nothing wrong with that.
I think in the world that we're in right now, the noise that is going on in people's inboxes with the latest prop tech, the latest solution to something that isn't even a problem, the amount of stuff that's going on, back to basics is actually required in some respects. Yes, technology is a fantastic compliment.
Do you think we're all looking for the shortcut,
Yeah.
the quick win?
I don't think we are looking for the shortcut. I think there's a number of things that are causing this, and I think a lot of it is to do with fear. A lot of it's to do with the fact that, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but we're working with an agency, and we have just done a lot of work with an agency whose fees have gone up now, but they were lower. And when we talked to the negotiating staff who weren't outvaluing, their attitude was that every time that agency had lost an instruction, according to the valuer, it was always about fee. So then that sort of spreads like a bit of a virus across the business.
Yes.
So, and I actually challenged them. We said, didn't we, to the negotiators. So for the last 3 years, every single time your valuers have gone out, they have been brilliant. It's just come down to fee every time. I don't believe that.
Do you think valuers use it as an excuse to almost get them off the hook?
Oh, yeah.
I think they do, but I think also the public use it as an excuse to say no to
That's
somebody
true.
as well.
Very, very true.
I do believe that. I think we generally don't like confrontation, especially when you've met somebody very personable.
You know,
And
they say,
quite often,
I don't like you.
no,
I didn't
I
feel
didn't
comfortable."
like your tie and your aftershave, so I've gone with someone else. They'll say, I've gone with someone who are cheaper than you or priced it maybe higher, which is another.
So do you
another
think?
issue.
Do you think when it comes to losing a valuation, the bosses of the valuers should be picking the phone up and having that frank conversation?
That is always good advice. If you speak to people and seek to find out
Yeah.
why they're not doing business with you, you'll learn.
I mean,
an awful
how
lot of
many
lessons.
bosses actually go out with their valuers?
I don't see very many doing it. In fairness, I
It's
wish there was
amazing,
more.
isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. I wish there was more. There were more because it's the biggest and most important thing in our industry.
Why do you think people go out with their valuers?
They haven't got time.
Well, it comes back to what we did in the other video, didn't it? We've got time for anything, have we?
I think as well.
Well, there's trust as well. I
I
think.
think there's trust, and I think a lot of the listers that we work with, they're very proud people, and they are not doing a bad job. That I think we should be clear on that.
Yeah.
Very proud of what they do. They take great care, but it's just about idea sharing, and this is why what you do is really great, and what we're trying to do around the industry with our training is really important, because sometimes when you're working in your bubble in Grantham or wherever you may be, you're in a bit of a bubble, and that's nobody's fault.
No.
So the ability to be able to, through Facebook groups, through podcasts and all the things we've talked about, share more best practice that might be working in Newcastle, for example, is a great place to be.
So is that a huge tip for bosses? Go out with your valuers, but make sure you set it up that you're not there to catch them out.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're there to help them.
Okay,
Yeah.
and also the bosses have got to make sure that the staff believe in it. Well, it really comes down to the bosses. Really, it's not the negs or the valuers' fault.
Well, it comes down to it, and here's a controversial point for you: whether the bosses can actually still list and can actually still get a good fee.
Wow.
You may be surprised to know. I remember a long time ago in a branch that had a fee problem. When we looked at the branch and we dissected the individuals in the branch,
Yes.
the most senior person had the lowest fees. So they were the problem.
Wow.
So you need to understand that bit.
Thanks, guys.